Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the 2020 Travel Connect virtual series. I am your host, Peter Kane, the Director of Marketing Strategy, Content, and Brand here at ARC. And today I'm joined by two fantastic guests, Rob Brown, who is Senior Director of B2B Strategy and Services at Southwest Business, and Ty Radcliffe, who's Director of Distribution at United Airlines. Before we dive into the conversation, I just want to run through a few housekeeping notes, and I apologize for the kind of weird setup here today. We've had some technical challenges, so if I'm looking off to the side, it's just so I can follow my notes and do what my team's told me to do here. If anybody has any technical issues, speaking of, or logistical questions, please feel free to use the chat feature, and somebody from ARC will gladly help you. If you have questions for the Q&A, please submit them into the Q&A section of WebEx, and we'll try to get through as many of those at the end as possible. Lastly, if you want to change up your display, there's these little menus up on the top right hand of the screen for WebEx where you can move to grid view and see all of us at once. And then lastly, please engage with us on your favorite social media platforms. We have a hashtag, it's hashtag TravelConnect2020. And we always love it when our folks engage with us. So with that, I guess let's get going. So today we're talking about creating a better traveler experience in every sales channel. And before I turn this over to Ty and Rob, I just want to start off by getting through exactly, what are we talking about when we're talking about omni-channel retailing? This is something near and dear to ARC's heart. It's something that we've engaged a little bit more heavily with over the last couple of probably 18 to 24 months. And when we talk about omni-channel, what we're talking about is a seamless experience through all channels, right? So in the future, we see this, the current kind of delineation between direct and indirect, moving into a more seamless experience, regardless of where the traveler is shopping, where the traveler is booking or buying, or even where the traveler is serviced, whether that's by an airline, by an agency. We want to create a better overall experience. This is like a really good example of this is in the corporate space, particularly, right, where a traveler might want to book through an airline app or their website, but make sure that they're capturing that data for the duty of care needs, but also to help get serviced by their TMC in the event that they need to change plans. There's some sort of volcano that blows up over Iceland, and there's all sorts of disruptions. That's what we're ultimately looking at, is creating a more connected experience across channels. So, prior to the pandemic, ARC actually made several investments in this space, into BlockSky, a blockchain organization, into Trexo, which is a duty of care business, and then to New Travel, which is a really interesting company that's looking to create a more seamless direct to TMC type of experience. We also see this with our data. ARC has a legacy as a data provider, and we have a solution with our partners over at IATA called Direct Data Solutions, which really does marry the direct data from our airline customers and the indirect data from our airline customers to help them better understand their business. And lastly, and then I'll shut up here. We've just released a product actually in partnership with United called ARC Data Connect, which is similarly looking to merge that indirect data with the direct data to help better manage corporate programs. So, I've done my spiel here, guys, and I'd love to hear from both of you, how you define omnichannel, what it means to your airline, and kind of the journey that you've both been on. And I'm going to go left to right on my screen, so I'm going to start with Rob here.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank the ARC team for giving Ty and I the opportunity to present to you today. I'm looking forward to it. So I think for us, what omnichannel really means is providing a seamless experience for our customers to interact, to transact, to service their reservations with Southwest, regardless of the channel. And it's certainly something that we're making strides towards. We're not quite there where we exactly want to be with our omni-channel efforts. But essentially, we want to be able to make the booking, the travel, the servicing experience with Southwest as easy as possible for our customers. So omnichannel will give us an opportunity to service a business customer that may have started in Swabiz, but they can service their reservation on our Southwest.com app. Or if they book through the Direct Connect, be able to make changes through Swabiz or any of our other direct channels and still see everything that has been modified with that particular reservation in their back and mid office from a reporting perspective. So it's really bringing that travel experience into a more singular view, a more simplistic way of doing business with Southwest Airlines. And again, we're making strides towards that. We are certainly not where we want to be, but that is the vision behind our omnichannel experience.
Great. And Ty, I'm interested to hear from United's perspective here, and yours, in particular. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Okay, great. Thank you. I also would like to thank ARC and you, Peter, for having me and Rob here to discuss what's going on in our world. And I almost feel like I'm there in person. So thank you for setting all this up. We were the first airline to do TripLink with Concur. And when we built TripLink, we did it in such a way that we could expand and take care of our customers regardless of where they shop. And that's a tall order, right? It's a matter of if a customer comes to us and says, I want to buy things in your direct channels, we want to make sure we get the right content to them, the discounts that they're looking for. We want to take care of duty of care, which we do. All of the things that you might expect a corporate traveler to need, those are the things we want to build. So as you can imagine, that entails things additionally like profile, policy, the application of the policy. Is this within policy or not? Trip approval. Those types of things are important to our customers. Where I think it gets interesting is the blending of NDC and those types of corporate direct initiatives. Because with NDC, we want to make sure that all the content that we have available is out there for agencies to be able to consume. And so wherever the customer wants to shop, we want to make sure we put our best foot forward. But here's where an interesting blend happens. Let's say that a customer starts off on United.com and they're booking in a corporate experience, but then they need their agency to help them. With NDC, our goal is to make sure that they can retrieve that PNR in NDC that was originally created in our .com and make changes to it, do whatever the travel agency needs to service that customer and send them on their way as seamlessly as possible. And I think we might be one of the first airlines that will allow a ticket to be issued in our site and then allow that to be exchanged for an ARC or BSP ticket, which we're super excited about. So that's coming soon. We, as you mentioned, blockchain, that's a pilot that we're very excited about as well that we did, where we went out and figured out how can we try and remove as much friction as possible from the experience for the customer. So provide the discounted fare, allow the form of payment to be super easy and validated, and move right to the expense report with hardly any touch point, and money exchanges hands thanks to ARC as well. And then you mentioned new travel. We're really excited about what you're doing there because I think that gives us an opportunity to centralize a lot of that information as an industry standard, if you will, to help corporate travel managers make sure that they have their information in one spot and it's easy to switch between whether it's an agency or to a supplier or what have you, and to make sure all that data is in a place that they need. So my congratulations to ARC for all of the work you're doing in this space. I think it's very valuable. It will help us work with our agencies better and ultimately help customers. That's what we're after.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, as we all do. And also, obviously, for both of you, we are so thankful for both of your partnerships. At the end of the day, ARC can't, ARC strives to help the industry. We see ourselves as somebody who helps the industry. And so that's why I'm so excited to be here. and one in particular that we, that we've been a part of, I think, maybe for the last 18 months or so, where you've come from a more historically direct approach into the GDSs and into settlement through ARC. And so I'd like for you to kind of provide a little bit more around that for the folks online, and also just, I'm interested to hear about your story and kind of where that's heading from here.
I'm sorry, Peter, was that question for me or for Ty? It kind of broke up there.
I apologize. Yeah, it was for you about kind of Southwest's journey over the last 12, 18 months, coming into like the GDSs and into the ARC settlement process.
Yeah, no, great. Thanks for the question. So yes, I think everyone on the webinar here will agree with me that over the years, Southwest has been a little different from most of our airline competitors when it comes to our distribution strategy and how we have gone to market to assist customers with their business travel reservations. So for years, we were largely a direct distribution organization with very little third-party integration. So on the B2C side, we of course had Southwest.com, where we were providing customers with an excellent experience through that particular channel. We made it very simple for them to transact and do business with us. From there, we spun that off and developed Swabiz in 2000, which was a dedicated business portal, again, providing customers with a seamless experience to transact with us directly. And in the meantime, we certainly had, a partnership with Sabre, but that was really our only third-party GDS partnership that we had in the marketplace. And as we began to get more and more focused on becoming more of a traditional business travel airline, some of the feedback that we received from customers was that they were looking for Southwest to provide them with a more industry standard experience when it came to booking, ticketing, tracking their business travel reservations. So a couple of iterations happened before this past year of us going industry standard with the GDS. One was the development of our API, which is not NDC standards. It is actually OTA standards, OTA specs, but really provides us with the ability to do a direct connect with any of the corporate booking tools or TMCs in the marketplace, which is what we have done since 2010 through today. And that continues to be a focal point of our channel strategy. But even with those solutions in the marketplace, customers were still saying, Southwest, you're too difficult to do business with. It would be great if you could provide a better experience, easier customer experience through the GDS. So that is what led to the announcement last year at GBTA of us going industry standard with Travelport and with Amadeus, which are both live in the marketplace right now. It was really us listening to feedback from our customers, them sharing with us the experience that they wanted through their channel of choice, and us delivering that experience through that industry standard agreement that we signed with both of those GDSs. So we, again, have launched both of those partnerships in the marketplace. Both are doing very well. Even in this COVID environment, we're seeing all of the behavior that we wanted to see in how we are now balancing our channel portfolio from direct to third party. So we're pleased with the ability to continue to deliver that level of customer experience through their channel of choice. We'll continue to invest in our direct channels, but we'll also continue to get better in both Travelport and Amadeus. We also launched last year our partnership with ATPCO's NDC Exchange, which allowed for us to now work through our API with customers that had NDC certification. We didn't have to change anything in terms of our API specs. All we did was plugged into the exchange, and the exchange does the translation layer for us. So we're excited about the direction that we're headed with our channel experience, becoming a little bit more easier to do business with through some of those channel of choice and those preferred channels. And we're looking to continue to grow that in 21 and beyond.
That's great. Thank you. And I think what's really interesting about kind of what you pointed out within there is how, intermediaries like ARC or ATPCO, we can help customers like Southwest and United and all of our airlines and travel agencies and corporate travel buyers, and the list goes on, to create that preferred strategy for them. And I guess that's where, we talk about, historically, it's always been one size fits all. And that's not the future, right? One size does not fit all. And so, Ty, turning to you, I'd be interested to hear a little bit more about what United's been working on over the last couple of months, and how you're, in years, and how you're looking forward, into 2021 and beyond.
Oh, thanks, Peter. That's a great question. I alluded to it before, but we're continuing to try and build the capabilities that are needed to get our content out to our important travel agency partners that our customers want to see. One of the things I'm really excited about, a United innovation, is our dynamic bundled fares. That's a base fare that has a collection of ancillaries on top of it, so that it can fit into a lot of the existing online booking tools with not a lot of additional work. And the reason we did that is because we wanted to be able to tailor our needs for our corporate travel managers who've come to us and said things like, my employees actually do check bags. A lot of people think, oh, corporate travelers, they don't check bags. Actually, some do, especially those that work for engineering firms or other places where maybe they have media equipment, or you name it, right? There are lots of people that actually do check bags. So maybe we have a bundle. We have 22 different bundles, by the way. But maybe what we do is take one of those bundles and apply it to one of those fares, so that in the checkout path you have the normal fare that's in policy, or the fare that includes these additional ancillaries that's also in policy. And one of the things we're excited about is the rich content that we're putting with that, pictures and text, that help the corporate customer understand what they're buying. So using NDC, using our partnership with Route Happy, using a lot of those things that are out there, we want to put our best foot forward in the channels where our customers want to shop. And at the same time, we want to make sure our direct channels are serving those needs as well. And then at the end of it, making sure all the data comes together and gets out, partnering with ARC to make sure it gets back to the corporation in a way that makes the most sense, as seamless as possible for our corporate customers.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. And I just, again, it's interesting to hear kind of on your end. You said, without a lot of additional work. And, I heard that a little bit from you, Rob, as you talked about the NDC exchange. And I think that's one thing that's super critical right now. We're all operating in this really strange, high stress. It seems like there's more work than there was even before the pandemic, right? And so, as you guys kind of look to what, your organizational strategies, where are you finding opportunities, within the current environment to try new things, or to maybe bubble up some of those priorities that kind of keep falling down on the list during normal times? And how is that helping your organizations? And either one can take that.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I agree. There's no words to describe the environment that we all find ourselves in and the impact that it has had on our business. For Southwest, a company that's always focused on low cost, this pandemic environment has now caused us to be even hyper focused on cost and reducing costs. So, of course, a lot of the things that were planned out have been victims of budget cuts, and a lot of projects have been delayed or just completely taken off the table as a result of that. But what it has forced us to do is be a little bit more creative and a little bit more in a spirit of trial when it comes to ideas that maybe were pushed down on the lower end of the list because they didn't have the biggest return on investment, or didn't necessarily need an investment from a technology perspective. Well, now those things have sort of risen to the top, and we have allowed for just some creativity and some innovation, I think, in the midst of the environment where we've had to cut costs. It's allowed us to really kind of focus as an organization on how do we come through this period in time better than we did entering into it? How can we modify and fine-tune processes and procedures that we wouldn't have had time for or wouldn't have wanted to risk because there was a lot at stake? Well, now that there's not a lot at stake, let's put some trial and error into the marketplace and do some things that we ordinarily wouldn't have done, so that when we do get back to a normal business environment, we've got these new programs in place, we've got these new service levels in place that's only going to enhance the customer experience and hopefully allow us to just be a better partner for our business travel customers.
And I'll chime on to that, Peter, as well. Completely agree with Rob. It has made us be more agile, I'd say, in getting things out there and trying things out, failing fast if it doesn't work, being responsive to our customers' needs that are ever changing in this environment. One of the things we're trying right now is the new testing that's happening for the Newark to London flights. My team was responsible for making sure the SSR messages got out to the travel agencies so they know this customer that's booked on this flight is going to have a COVID test. Make sure that they make an appointment. Here's the information that you can get, right? So we sped that along as fast as we could to make sure that we're notifying customers and the agencies that are servicing them, to making sure they're aware. Working with folks like Root Happy to make sure that the things that we're doing on board to keep the aircraft clean, to ensure everyone knows they have to wear a mask. That's stuff that we didn't have to do a year ago, and now it's very real, and so it's even more important to get those types of innovations out there. And then more broadly as an airline, it's just let's focus on the things that are going to make the most impact to the customer, the most positive impact, and that's where we've put our focus. At the same time, however, we know that at the end of this, things like NDC are still going to be critical. So we have not slowed down. We're excited to launch. I think it was just in the press release earlier this week that we launched our ARC capabilities with our NDC capabilities with ARC very recently. We're in a live production pilot and hope to spool that up quickly. We're doing the same thing with BSP. So the big ticket items are still moving. We're not slowing down, but we have gotten more innovative, I would say, and quick to market.
And I think what's really interesting that you both touched on is how, we will eventually be out of this, right? Like we've had some fantastic vaccination news over the last, week and a half or so. Granted, things are not great, at least in the United States, in a lot of places, but there is an end to this journey. And I think that all the work that's being done now, sort of as it has to happen because we are in this environment, and I'll use the cleanliness and all that messaging that has to come through as an example. That's stuff that can then be applied to other things once we're through this, right? Whether that's product or additional services that a customer might want. And I'm going to assume, but I'm going to ask, is that something that you guys are like really looking at? As you think about, okay, we need to make sure that the specific cleanliness protocols are pushed through Route Happy. We're going to be able to use this for X down the road, and are there some examples that maybe you can share, or that that aren't proprietary organizational secrets?
Yeah, I think, Peter, you bring up a great point in that given the environment, and I think Todd touched on this as well, a lot of the airlines and really anyone in the service industry has had to make changes in how they prepare to service their customers. So the Southwest Promise and all of the things that we are doing in the gate area, from a safety and cleanliness perspective to the boarding process and how we change that, and the in-flight experience, how we electrostatic spray all of the aircraft and the frequency of that to ensure customers know that when they are boarding and flying on a Southwest flight, that they're flying in a safe environment. We have been able to leverage sort of that rich branding and content through Route Happy. We've been partnering with them to ensure that our Southwest Promise is delivered in a way during the booking experience so that customers know what the experience they can expect when they fly Southwest Airlines. And even with the partnerships that we've announced with Travelport, we're introducing rich branding and content into that experience as well, because we want to ensure customers that when they fly Southwest, they can feel assured that we are taking every step and every precaution to provide them with a safe and clean environment. So yes, we are leveraging as many partners in the market that we can to ensure that that Southwest Promise message is delivered to them at the time of booking, so that it's at that time of deciding where they're going and who they're going to fly.
Great, thank you. Ty, I know you talked about NDC a couple of times here, and I think it's really interesting. And again, thank you guys for your partnership on that. We're really excited. At the beginning, I shouldn't say at the beginning, but maybe like back in May, June, there was some talk about not necessarily long live NDC, right? But more like it's going to slow down, and airlines are going to de-invest in it at this time. But that doesn't seem to necessarily be the case, and definitely not with you guys. And so, I'd be interested to hear a little bit more of your thoughts around NDC and the role it's going to play going forward.
Oh, absolutely. It's really public information that Farelogix is my NDC partner, right? They're making it possible for me. And I think that because I have an external vendor that's out there pushing this forward, doing all of my implementations, that has helped shield us from some of the impacts, if you will, of COVID, because they're able to keep pushing forward. That is their primary initiative for me. So that has been a good thing. And we're working very well with them. I'm excited about all of the innovations that we've made in that space. We're working with ATPCO Exchange as well. Rob mentioned that. We're excited about their work on NDC too. I'm excited in that not only do we have sort of that table stakes baseline set of functionality out there, everything from shop, book, pay, ticket, exchange, refund, you name it, operational notification messages, our dynamic bundled fares, our continuous pricing, all the cool stuff that makes NDC worthwhile. It's there. And now that we have this ARC implementation going in VSP2, that's it. We're ready to start turning up that volume knob in a big way, which I'm really excited about. It's taken us a while, and I'm pleased that we've been able to get through that in spite of the horrible year that we've had for everyone. So good momentum on NDC. I don't see it slowing down. In fact, I see the opposite. I think it's just going to keep speeding up. We're working with all of the GDSs to implement NDC. They're all doing a great job. So it's full speed ahead on that. And I'm just thankful that we didn't have to slow down in that space. That's been a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. And Rob, you talked a little bit about your APIs and leveraging those partners as well in order to build upon what you're doing. As you look forward, kind of where do you see Southwest heading from here in terms of its ability to create this omnichannel type of environment?
Yeah, we're going to continue to evaluate, of course, NDC and any other new technology that may be around the corner that has yet to be introduced. We're always trying to keep our eyes open and our ears open to ensure that we're positioned well for where the market is going to pivot next. I think for us, we're going to continue to invest in what we say are our primary three streams from a distribution channel perspective. We're going to continue to invest in our GDS channels and being better through those channels from a booking, ticketing, servicing, and now settlement through ARC perspective. We're going to continue to invest in our direct strategy, which includes SWABIZ. And I think what that means for our API, again, we have not adopted any NDC standards with the API that we sort of own and run, but we have been able to take that and leverage it through the exchange. But I'd say from a long-term perspective, we will continue to monitor some of the standardization that's happening around NDC and how it will, eventually we feel evolve into a standardized connection, so that when we're marching down that path, that we're ready to make that pivot. And then our TMCs, which for years Southwest was not very intentional about building partnerships with the TMC community. That is another stream that we have added to our channel strategy to ensure that we are being better partners to our TMC, partners out in the marketplace, and ensuring that we're eliminating as much friction as possible for them, and so that we can together better service our corporate customers. So I think the future for us is just continuing to manage and build and develop a multi-channel distribution strategy that hopefully provides customers with the experience that they're looking for through their channel of choice when they look to book Southwest Airlines.
And what I'm really getting from both of you is, the legacy of either or, direct or indirect, that mindset's really out the door, right? At this point, we've moved beyond that, and now we're looking at it from a both and perspective, and how organizations throughout the traveler journey can partner better in order to create a better customer experience and ultimately, right, a better trip. And we recently at ARC did a survey of some of our large agencies, and their feedback was kind of similar. They see that through now more than ever, there's a need for that partnership between airlines, technology providers, travel agencies. And Ty, you alluded to some interesting stuff at the beginning. I don't know if you can expand upon it a little bit more, or in terms of the servicing side, which is so critical and so important, such a value add from travel agencies.
Oh, for sure. Well, first of all, we allow travel agencies to put commission in the ticket, and that's one of the things I'm really excited about that is enabled through ARC. If we didn't have the ability to settle through ARC, we couldn't do that. And I should take a moment just to talk about the great work that my revenue accounting colleagues have done with me at United. We have made it so that we actually issue the ticket in our own system using the same services that United.com and our mobile app use. And that's huge because a lot of airlines rely on folks like Farelogix or somebody else to issue the ticket and settle that through ARC. We're doing all of that in-house ourselves. And the reason I took a moment to talk about that is because that is what allows us to then take the ticket that may have been issued originally on United.com and then exchange that and turn it into, if you will, an ARC ticket. That's huge. And we think we'll probably be a first that allows that. Maybe someone after this will tell me I'm wrong, but I'm really excited about that capability to allow a travel agency to pick up that booking and service it when it matters the most. At a moment when we maybe are having a snowstorm or some other event that's causing there to be a wait, whether it's on the telephone or at the airport itself, where the travel agency can come in and provide invaluable service, if you will, to the customer. That's huge, and we're really excited about being able to work with our travel agency partners to make that happen.
I had to find my mute button there. Yeah, and like that's something that we strive. Obviously, ARC does not exist without the travel agency community, right? Like they are critical to who we are, and we want to make sure that we both grow and excel together. And when I think about again this omnichannel future, to me it just reinforces the value that travel agencies provide within the market, right? Whether that's from a discover, shop, buy service, right throughout that journey. I just see it's an all tide lifts, or a tide lifts all boats. And I think that's where we're heading. And it's really, for me, that's very exciting to see. Instead of a, either or type of environment. And, Rob, from a Southwest perspective, like that, it seems to me that's pretty clear too, and that's the direction forward, is this both and type of environment. And why you guys have kind of have come into the GDS channels.
Yeah, for sure. Again, at the core of everything that we do at Southwest Airlines is hospitality and service. So we want to ensure that we're able to provide that for all of our customers. And for years, through our B2C channel, our Southwest.com channel, we were able to provide an optimum experience for all of our customers. But we continue to hear on the B2B side that we were falling short of providing that optimum customer experience through their channel of choice. So that's what sort of led us down the path of exploring changing our distribution strategy and becoming more invested in the GDSs in an industry standard way so that we could provide that customer experience through that particular channel. And I think as we go forward, again, we want to continue to focus on investing there and making sure that we are the partner that our customers and our TMC partners are expecting us to be. But at the same time, because we've got a number of customers that want to do business with us in a range of ways, we don't want to ignore what was in at least our core business, part of our core business, which was our direct strategy. So we're going to continue to do and have an and approach. We're going to continue to focus on direct channels and third-party channels and providing that optimum customer experience through either channel, through an omni-channel experience. So again, we're not exactly where we want to be, but we certainly have that on our roadmap as part of our plans for the future.
That's great. And something that just kind of triggered in my mind is I'm curious to know, if either of you have any, whether they're anecdotes or whether, it's hard data, what are you hearing from the corporate travel community in terms of, where they're heading, what they're thinking about? We had Suzanne Boyan from ZS Associates on an episode a couple months ago. And, she has a very blended approach in her program. And I'm curious to see if you're seeing more of that, if you're hearing that maybe corporate travel managers try to tighten the screws a little bit given the current environment, or if it's just everybody's all over the place because everyone pursues their own strategy.
Yeah, so I think I would echo the comments that you're hearing there. Certainly, everyone has a blended strategy as to how they want to approach the market, but I think there's also a lot of uncertainty, Peter. Given everything that's happening, despite the great news that we've received this week regarding vaccines, et cetera, the future is still uncertain. So I think suppliers are doing everything that they can to work with the government, work with the CDC, work with all of the other industry experts to kind of get a read on where things are going. And, we're hearing from a lot of our corporate customers that they're just not certain. There's still, I think some convincing at some levels of what level of travel will be reintroduced and when. Certainly there's an appetite to do so because everyone wants to get back to business and everyone wants to get back to face-to-face business. I would love if we were all in a room together on a stage because there's nothing like that human connection when you're at a conference. But, you adapt, you change, you make amends. But I think that there's just uncertainty, just given everything that's happening in the market with the vaccines, et cetera. But there is an appetite. There is certainly a hunger for it. But everyone is just moving forward cautiously to ensure that they are ensuring the safety of their travelers and on our part, then the safety of our customers.
I think it's interesting that I think a lot of people understand that being on an aircraft, it's a unique experience from the airflow. We had that study that we did with DARPA, I believe, where we talked about how safe it is on board in terms of aerosol distribution. And the way airflow happens on an airplane, it's a very safe environment for customers. And we're proud of that. And we're taking measures to make sure that people feel very safe at the airport as well. I think we're one of the first folks that came out with a touchless kiosk experience with your mobile phone. where you can show that and not have to necessarily touch the kiosk. So we're doing lots of interesting things in that area to make people feel as safe and comfortable as possible. But when you get to where you're going, is the office open? Is the government where you're flying to going to allow you to go there without quarantine? When you come home, what are you going to have to do? So I think those are a lot of the uncertain things that people are thinking through as they plan to come back. And so as those things evolve, I think you'll start to see it. I guess my simple answer on that one is it's not necessarily the airline or air travel that's the limiting factor. It's everything around it that's just making it tough for people to make the choice to come back.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I want to highlight is there was a recent study by some researchers at Harvard who actually looked into, the safety of air travel right now. And, obviously we're probably biased from the results came back in ways that we want to see them, but they did come back in a very positive way for the industry. And I think that as we continue to learn more about this virus, right? Like, let's be honest, it's basically a year old at this point. We'll be able to mitigate that risk a little bit better. We'll be able to ensure that, travelers do feel confident in their trip, that they understand what they have to go through when they get to a destination. I think that's one of the very fascinating things that a lot of TMCs in particular have taken on is creating documentation around what should I expect when I get there, right? Do I need to quarantine? Do I not? Do I need to get a test within how many hours, right? And I think that's all technology that we're going to be able to use in the future for hopefully, more exciting, right, more exciting purposes. So we'll make sure that in the show notes, somehow we make sure we can get that research out to the audience. I want to,
and I think having neutral parties like that, neutral third parties like that, provide that level of detail around the safety of air travel was a huge boost to our industry. Certainly, United, Southwest, and all of our other airline partners have been, trying to make sure that we deliver that message to the marketplace and to our customers. But when it's validated by a neutral third party, it's always very helpful for us.
Yeah, for sure. And what I think was really interesting, again, within the results is just how this is a community effort. Like, this is an industry-wide effort. This is not, if CNBC features a CEO from one airline talking about this topic, that's good for everybody. Now, granted, you'd always want to be yours, right? But it seems to be a joint collaborative effort in order to continue to ensure that people are confident in their trip and that they ultimately can feel safe and are safe, most importantly. We have about 15 minutes left in the allotted time, so I wanted to get into some questions that have come in from the audience. And the first one I'll ask is around around the blockchain work. There was a time period where blockchain sounded like the solution for everything, right? But I think that we in partnership, have kind of found an interesting use case for it. So I was hoping you could expand on that a little bit if you could.
Sure, absolutely. What is exciting about it is the friction that it removes from the overall experience for the customer. Especially customers who have to rebill their travel to someone else. So we want to make sure that the trip that's taking place, that it's clear who we're rebilling that to and validating that it makes sense. And we can write all that information onto the blockchain so it's crystal clear. We can validate, and we know one of us is not manipulating the data. That's what's cool about blockchain, right? In that it's immutable. And we know that it's out there in such a way that, and we're not, this is, by the way, for those of you who are listening, this is not cryptocurrency. I'm a big fan of cryptocurrency, but that's not what this is about whatsoever. This is about writing what are called smart contracts to the blockchain, which allows us to ensure that if the customer said or wants to buy that trip, and this is not even shopping, this is the booking has been created, the ticket has been issued. We write that to a smart contract in the blockchain. We distribute that both to the customer, the corporation that bought the ticket, as well as to ARC. And together, we all are looking at the exact same information. And once the customer has said, yes, that's a valid trip, I agree with it, then ARC is able to go and get the money directly from the bank account and send it to our bank account. It's clean and easy. The customer doesn't necessarily have to do an expense report, or if they do, it's all filled in for them with the right rebilling information and everything else. All the tax implications are made much easier. It's just a very smooth and seamless experience, and we're excited to continue to figure out ways that we can make that work, including with travel agency partners. Right now, it's direct only, but we want to find out how can we work with travel agencies to make sure that that same type of experience can persist throughout the life cycle of the journey. So it's exciting, and thank you for asking me about that.
Yeah, and I think it's just a really good example of how organizations can work together to explore new functionality and capabilities that works across across the traditional dual channels to create this one seamless omnichannel experience in the long term as we continue to work through that. Rob, this one's actually from me. Last year at GBTA, there was the announcement from Southwest about moving in GDS, and I'm just curious what the response has been that you guys have received from that.
Well, initially it was shock because I don't think anyone in the industry ever, visualized that we would make that dramatic of a pivot with our channel strategy. But, I think after shock, there was skepticism about whether or not we were truly entering into the GDS in an industry standard way. But all of that aside, since we launched with Travelport earlier this year, I think it was early Q2, and we went out with Amadeus in an industry standard way October 1st. The market has responded very well. We put together a business case years ago as to what we thought would happen when we went into an industry standard GDS agreement, how that would look from a reporting standpoint internally with our channel mix, what we thought the behavior would be with our customers in terms of them shifting from direct channels to their channel of choice to GDS. And again, numbers aren't anywhere close to where we would like for them to be given the environment. But I think the framework is there for what was laid out in the business case to be successful. So we've gotten certainly great response from our TMC partners. We've gotten great response from our corporate customers. We're continuing to take feedback on the experience, whether it's, questions about content or questions about other programs that we only offered in the past through our direct channels. And we're evaluating, do we make changes in some of those strategies? But I'd say overall, it's been a very positive change for us. We're excited about the partnerships that we have with Travelport and Amadeus and how that will factor into our channel strategy in the future.
That's great. Yeah, and I remember when we were talking back kind of the beginning of that Q2 period, and it was all it was a very interesting time, right? Because that was really we had just kind of hit the gullet, the bottoming out of the pandemic. And here's Southwest ready to launch. And it was super exciting. It was super exciting.
Tried to be a ray of sunshine there.
I will honestly tell you, in the morning stand-up of the one crisis team we had set up, it was definitely a ray of sunshine. As we talk a little bit more about NDC kind of as this foundation for the future of retailing, once it's, let's just say, more ubiquitous within the industry, what are you most excited about being able to do next?
There's a lot of cool things that come along with NDC. I mean, the obvious one is content. The ability to put different types of content out there. A lot of people ask me, well, what is continuous pricing, as an example? And today we're married to this idea of buckets, letters of the alphabet. And in most cases, it's quite limiting. So imagine that a fare is $100 in T class, and L class is $50 more. But what if our revenue management system said, actually, I only wanted to charge $10 more? Why did I have to jump to 50? Well, that's the limitation of classes. And so moving away from that constraint, we can get much, much closer to exactly what we're willing to accept to carry that passenger. And that's really not possible, not easily possible with existing legacy messages. And that's what one of the things that NDC brings. That, our dynamic bundled fares, and any other really cool things that we can come up with in the future. Our ability to contract with agencies. Maybe I can dynamically know our share position or how much revenue at some point in the future we've earned from that customer or they've spent with us. And so then we can potentially change their discount on the fly instead of this infrequent review period, right? Something that's a little more dynamic. And then recognizing our customers. We've got a really cool thing going on right now that we're piloting with Concur, to where we can, if a customer is a high tier value member, we don't necessarily present them with bundles that they already get because they are an elite member. So we're trying to be smarter about what we're offering. That's a really cool thing. So those are just small examples of things that we're doing with NDC. I want to make it easier, and actually we can now. We can automatically apply waivers with NDC. So if there's a problem, the travel agent doesn't have to go into Jetstream and poke around and figure out what waiver code they're using. Did I put it in the right OSI element? Did I format it correctly? Am I going to get a debit memo? Right? Those are the things you want to move away from. I want to remove that fear that travel agencies have when there's an IROP situation, to make them comfortable that they're servicing the customer as best they can, and we're not going to come back on them for doing nothing but helping the customer. And NDC makes that so much easier. So, recognition of high tier value members, better content, better servicing. Those are all the types of things, and getting things to market faster, right? Right now, it takes a long time to figure out how to get something new out there, and NDC will make that so much faster once we have more and more people using it.
It really is kind of helping this industry transform from, we all know we're working on 30-year-old technology for the right, and being able to move into a more modern tech stack means go to market is faster, means a better customer journey, means a better customer experience, means that we can create things based on customer feedback so that they can get and use it sooner. I think, Ty, when we did our prep call for this, you talked about how, airlines and the air travel industry were very innovative at the beginning. And now we're kind of getting back to that point where we can, to a certain degree, be very, very innovative and be ahead of innovation again. Now that we're moving into this new space.
A lot of that is based on technological capabilities. I remember in the past, you used to have a processor, an emulator in your travel agency. I come from a travel agency background, so we used to have these massive computers, 1025B processors that would sit there and emulate either the airline's system, right, or the GDS, or you had to have a terminal for every airline that you worked with in order to book tickets, right? And this is kind of pre-GDS, if you will, in some cases. But nevertheless, then we started to say, oh, what if we had a system like, this is really a long time ago, Landian, that could plug into a board on the computer so that you could have multiple GDSs on one desktop computer. Oh my gosh, what a revelation. But we still had ticket printers, and they would jam all the time, and you had to clean the rollers, and there was just so many things that have changed since then. But kidding aside, not kidding, bad memories aside, in the past, if an OTA, for instance, were to just send every shopping request it could directly to an airline, it would shut the airline system down. Just couldn't handle it. So by its very nature, we had to have the GDS shopping capabilities in place to handle the sheer volume from all the agencies and the OTAs and the meta search engines. But now we're moving into cloud-based technology. We're moving into commodity hardware that you just call up Amazon or Microsoft or someone and say, I need more capacity because it's Thanksgiving. And they're like, okay, done. And what? You didn't have to go out and buy more blade servers? You didn't have to write up a work order to procure more hardware? No, I just authorized it with my keyboard. It's amazing, right? And so that's the world we're moving into, where we as airlines, I can speak for myself. I want to support that shopping volume, because here's one of the things I think we do to customers that really I think is unfortunate. Because of the way shopping systems work all around the industry, we have trained customers that they need to go and shop about 25 times before they buy a ticket, because they might find cheaper fare. And sometimes that cheaper fare is a technological glitch. Sometimes it's an availability or inventory and caching issue. But if I can centralize, no matter where the customer shops, I'm the source of that information, hopefully we can save our customers so much time. So they know when they go to their travel agency of choice, they're getting the best fare. I know there are travel agencies on this call right now that are saying, if I could get away from people saying, well, I was on Kayak and I found a fare that was $10 cheaper, right? I mean, we want to make sure that no matter where the customer's shopping, that they get the right answer. And of course, there are corporate discounts. I get that. But, you know, within policy, we want to make sure that we don't have our customers continually sort of wasting their time trying to find a better deal. And I think that this evolution of better technology and capacity will help us get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's exciting because it ultimately creates a better relationship with the customer. And that's what everyone's working towards.
That's right.
And that's exciting. That's exciting. We only have a couple minutes, so I have one more question for both of you. And it's a pretty simple one. When all is over, we can travel wherever, we don't need to quarantine. Where's the first place that you're both going?
Well, for me, it's to Chicago to visit Ty and my mom. I have not seen my mom since February, and FaceTiming with her is just not the same as being able to wrap my arms around her. So for me, it would be back home to Chicago to see my family and to enjoy some downtown lakefront in Chicago.
And since Rob is coming to see me, my first trip will be to Louisville SDF to see my parents too, so that I don't get disowned and stay out of trouble with them. Yeah, likewise. That right, you can't go anywhere else. I would be in so much trouble. I have to go see mom and dad. So I'm excited about that. Now, having the family out of the way, oh boy, it has to be somewhere warm, maybe with some palm trees, just someplace that maybe my phone doesn't work for a little while. No Teams or WebEx or Zoom.
I second that.
No mute button. No mute button.
Exactly.
Cabo, Hawaii, any place. All is good.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so very much, both for joining me today and your partnerships with ARC. We truly appreciate both of you and your organizations. For those on the call, thank you very much for joining us. These events wouldn't be anything without our attendees. And for everyone, we look forward to seeing everybody in person as soon as possible. As a reminder, you can check out all of our past episodes on ARC's YouTube channel or on arctravelconnect.com. And again, please engage with us on your favorite social media platforms using the hashtag ArcTravelConnect2020, I think, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for not remembering that off the top of my head. Next month, we will be back with another live edition. It'll be a celebration of ARC's outgoing CEO, Mike Primo. So we'll join you all then. And again, Ty and Rob, thank you so much. And everyone have a great day.